A new mending book is about to land in bookshops around the globe, and it's something really special. It's the creation of regular Check Your Thread guest and mending expert Jeanna Wigger and super experienced mending volunteer and organiser Mary Morton. In this episode, we're going to hear all about how this excellent book came to be written by two women who had never even met each other, and exactly what makes Stitch It, Don't Ditch It so significant in the mending book genre. Stick around a few minutes for this interesting chat. Welcome to Check Your Thread, the podcast that will help you sew more sustainably. My name's Zoe and I'm obsessed with sewing. I've been blogging about it for over 17 years and am the creator and host of the popular handmade wardrobe challenge Me Made May. But, like many people, I've become increasingly concerned about the climate and ecological crises. And I'm looking at the way that my lifestyle contributes to them. So in this podcast, I'll be nerding out about making clothes whilst exploring how to minimise the negative impact that it may have. And I really hope you'll join me in this journey. How are you doing, lovely one? Thanks heaps for clicking play on this episode. This one is the last new episode for the summer. I'm taking 2 weeks off making episodes and having a little holiday up north at my husband's family's place and then to Scotland. Then, because my kids will be off for the summer and working with them home is beyond challenging, I'll be dropping 4 replays of popular episodes from the second year of Check Your Thread. And Check Your Thread will be turning 4 in August, which is pretty hard to believe, I feel. Anyway, new episodes will resume the week beginning the 8th of September, and I already have some great stuff lined up for you. But I'll still be very much contactable throughout the summer. I can still be emailed zoe@checkyourthread.com, and you can hit me up on Instagram at checkyourthread. For example, you could tag me and let me know where you are and what you're up to whilst listening to the podcast. Just as Fran did this week, letting me know that she was restitching the Velcro on the high-vis vests that belong to her sports team whilst listening to Check Your Thread. Amazing work, Fran, and thank you for letting me know. You could also support the production of the next batch of new Check Your Thread episodes by signing up to the Check Your Thread Patreon community, just as lovely new patron Dita did this week. Huge thanks, Dita. Please head to patreon.com/checkyourthread to see what goes on over there and sign up for any amount at all that makes sense to you. So let's just get into it. So I am so happy that you're going to hear about this really special book that really stands out in the mending book space. I honestly haven't seen a book similar, which is really refreshing. If you're in Scotland or are able to travel there, Mary and Jeanna have a few launch events going on. There's one in Edinburgh that I'll be at on the 30th of July. And previous Check Your Thread guest Judith Staley will be there also, so that is going to be tons of fun. Plus, there's others in Inverness, Linlithgow and Glasgow, and an actual mending workshop also in Edinburgh. So head to Jeanna's Instagram linktree for all the details. So apologies for the quality of this recording. We had a bunch of technical issues with getting this recorded, so it's not as cleanly edited as I usually aim for. Anyway, so until the summer replays, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, take care of those in the wider global community because there's a lot of people that really need our help right now. Have a wonderful couple of weeks and enjoy. Wow, we got there. Hello, good. I was going to say good morning, getting close to afternoon.
Yeah,
for all of us at this point. Anyway, thank you both so much for finding time to chat with me today. So regular listeners of the podcast will have had the pleasure of hearing from Jeanna a number of times before because Jeanna is a regular on Check Your Thread. However, this is your first time on Check Your Thread, Mary, although you have been a member of the community for some time. So welcome to the podcast proper.
Thank you very much, Zoe. It's lovely to be here.
Yes, I'm really glad to be back.
Yay! So, so can you please tell us, in your case, Jeanna, can you remind us who you are, where you are, and what fills your days? Could you start, Jeanna?
Sure. So I'm Jeanna Wigger, and I am currently living in north central Spain and sort of filling my day with a variety of different things. Right now, very centered on mending and spending time outside and book events.
Yeah, it's quite a contrast the last time we spoke,
yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
What about yourself, Mary?
I'm Mary Morton. I'm retired and a sewing volunteer with the Shrub Co-op, which is a zero waste charity based here in Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm a carer for my husband. I'm a grandma, so I have the joy of looking after Aoife and Saoirse every now and again, which is great. And I regularly contribute as a sewing volunteer to the sewing sessions that we run, where people bring along a garment that they want to learn how to repair, and the team show them how to do it.
Where does that take place?
In the centre of Edinburgh. It had previously, up until very recently, been at the Zero Waste Hub, but Shrub have lost their funding.
Right.
So we're now peripatetic for a wee while, looking at different venues. At the moment, we're in the Edinburgh Student Housing Cooperative basement, which doesn't sound particularly lovely, but it's a very nice space, and it's windows all down one side, so it's ideal.
Oh, fantastic. So you are both here today to tell me about your new book, Stitch It, Don't Ditch It. Enormous congratulations to both of you for your amazing book. So I know I'm going to sound biased, but I think it is incredible. And let's face it, there is already like a whole bunch of mending books out there. So I was quite curious to see like how yours was going to stand out, but it really is unique in the space and something really special. So let's go straight into it. Jeanna, who is this book for, and how do you think it could help the people who are listening to this podcast?
Right. So Stitch It, Don't Ditch It is really written for kind of a variety of different people. And we think that it will appeal to a variety of different people. Originally, Mary was approached by the publisher to write a book about garment repair for people who have no experience sewing. So that was like kind of our first mission and angle. But as we went along with it, we do think that it's certainly directed at people who have little to no hand sewing experience and want to be able to kind of undertake basic hand sewing clothing repairs. But we also think that people who maybe are more machine focused, are experienced sewists with sewing machines, we think that they will find something new in this book that is useful in terms of hand sewing repairs. People who have maybe embroidery or other handcraft experience, but haven't like used those skills specifically for clothing repair. I think it'll also appeal to them. And then also people who maybe haven't thought about sewing very much before, but are interested in like something that they can do to kind of an individual action that they can take to reduce their impact on the world, on social justice issues, on climate issues. So yeah, it's kind of a broad range of different people that we hope find their way to our book.
Yeah, so you've got so you must have had kind of like a number of different kind of avatars in your mind when you were thinking about the book.
Yeah,
cool.
It went off in a lot of different. We saw a lot of different potential for different kind of people to appeal.
Oh, amazing. So I know that obviously both of you are avid menders in your own life, and you both regularly take your mending skills outside of your homes and teach people in real life. And of course, Jeanna, you initiated the Winter of Care and Repair Challenge to encourage people to mend things via your online platform. So I'd love to know like how a book project got thrown into the mix as well. So I'm Mary, as Jeanna's already said, I know that the book project originated from your camp initially, and I don't think that we can go much further without acknowledging that for a year or two, you've kind of become the face and voice of Scottish mending, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. It's not exactly how I would have thought about it, but yeah.
How would you say?
Yeah, well, it's all been a complete accident, so far as I'm concerned.
Could you talk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, sure. The Shrub Co-op, where I volunteer, they had funding from the National Lottery Fund. And they had been keen to speak to some of the volunteers and service users to get some feedback about what the benefits of the money that they had donated had been. And they had interviewed me as one of many in terms of then doing a press release, to highlight their good works. And part of that press release, when I had spoken to them, I must have spoken about the Edinburgh Street Stitchers, which is a group that I set up in Edinburgh, in line with what Susie Warren does in London. And she set up the global street stitching network. And when we go out in Edinburgh, most of the first time that we went out, most of the people involved were sewing volunteers already. So we thought, well, rather than just going out and sitting and doing our own mending, we'll put some social media out there beforehand to say if people want to bring along a garment to repair, we can help to show them how to repair it. So the Edinburgh Street Stitchers started off on that basis, that anybody who wants to come along and bring a garment, we'll show them how to repair it. So when that press release from the National Lottery went out, the BBC News online picked it up, which was very bizarre from my point of view. But it seems to be that news programmes always need and finally, where they add a little bit of joy
positive
back into the world after having told us everything about Trump and all of the other disasters that are occurring across the world. So we obviously became the darling of the Anne Finaleys. And I did a bit of, I think there was a few TV programmes and a couple of radio, and I did Woman's Hour, which is a big thing for me because my mum always used to listen to Woman's Hour.
It's iconic.
So, and part of that sort of burst of interest was that Quadrille, the publishers, had emailed me and said, might you be interested in writing a book? So that was how it came about. It wasn't something that I had ever really thought about. So yeah, it was
So bizarre. What did you think when you first got that email where you were like, oh, this is amazing, or you're like, oh?
Well, part of the reason that I got into all of the mending kind of side of things was because 5 or 6 years ago, I had realised that I wasn't properly educated about what was going on with climate, and I needed to find out more. So I did some online courses about, the scientific background and everything. And the final course that I did was, climate change and what you can do about it. And part of it, what it said was the 3 basic things that you can do. You can lobby government and big business. You can change things in your own life. And you can talk about it. And I thought, well, asking me to write a book is absolutely on topic in terms of talk about it. So I thought, I can't turn this down. But on the other hand, I felt that, potentially I had enough going on in my life that I might not be able to be reliable in terms of taking on a project like this. So, because through most of my working life, I have worked as part of a team, my first thought was I need to find somebody else to write it with. So I thought, right, okay, if I can find somebody else to write it with, then yes, I will go ahead. But otherwise, I would need to turn it down. And then I was fortuitously listening to one of your podcasts, and it was Jeanna that was on it. And she was talking about the decision-making process when you're faced with a mend and how you decide how you're going to do it. And that's exactly the bit that the people who come along to our sewing sessions really struggle with. And she had a very clear, systematic, and I could see algorithms appearing in my head and thinking, and I was sitting talking to the laptop saying, she really knows what she's talking about. And I thought, I wonder if you can send a message on Instagram to somebody that you don't know, but you follow, and just ask them if they would be interested in co-authoring a book. So that's what I did. And I was very lucky that she said yes. So it's been great.
Amazing. So Jeanna, how did you feel when you got that DM?
I was pretty shocked. I was really excited because so your podcast has been like such a key link in this whole process. Aww. Because after we recorded that podcast that Mary referred to.
Yeah, it was called How to Triage Your Mends, wasn't it, that one?
Yes. Yeah. And I think it was after that podcast that you and I exchanged a few emails and you said, you should really consider writing a book. And I was like, I've actually been thinking about this and researching it and working on writing for like a couple of years. And here's all the reasons I can't do it. And then 2 months later, Mary and I we'd signed this contract to write this book. And it was, I just feel super, super fortunate that Mary and I connected on this and that she felt like kind of my approach to mending matched up with sort of her vision for what she wanted to, how she wanted to write this book. And also really grateful for our publishing team at Quadrille because our book it's not like a typical craft book. It's set up a little bit differently. They really gave us the leeway to write the book that we wanted to write.
Fantastic.
And in the format that we wanted to present it as something that we think and we really hope will be useful for people who are kind of really new to mending, to help them be successful with it so they don't have to, so many of us have gone through years of trial and error and experiential learning and like something falling apart in the wash. And then we learned like, oh, it was the fabric, it was the stitch, it was the blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, we were able to write the book that we wanted to write.
That's wonderful.
Fast forward people through.
So they were really open with their brief, and they really embraced the ideas that you had, rather than having a set vision and they just wanted someone to write it.
Yeah, I don't think they had much of an idea as to what they really wanted us to do. I think they were very happy for us to just take a lead. And of course, we haven't a clue what we're doing. We're just getting on with it. And kind of, I suppose, because we've both got experience of, teaching people. So, we were able to bring that to it. So I think that was really helpful. Yeah. So.
Fantastic. So as we were just saying, that there are obviously a lot of mending books out there. So was that kind of in your mind, like you really wanted to create something that was different? Because it really is. Like, Jeanna, did you see that there was a gap in the offering that was already out there that you felt that you could fill?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, when as Mary and I started talking about this book and what we wanted it to look like, a lot of mending books are kind of framed from like a project perspective. And so here is this style of patch to sew on the knee, or this style of patch for the elbow. And I think that there's obviously definitely a lot of value in that kind of book, but we felt like we had this opportunity, since theoretically readers of this book are going to be starting from scratch. We wanted to kind of like walk them through the whole problem-solving process of each mend that they're faced with, and then kind of guide them through like problem-solving each individual repair, because they're all a little different. So that was one feature, I suppose, that I had in mind. And the other thing that we thought was really important is, and that makes our book a little bit different than other books that are out there, is we don't lean directly towards either visible mending or invisible mending. We try to present that problem-solving process and then kind of explain the options for how people might accomplish either a visible mend or a less visible mend, depending on what they want their garment to look like and how that can match up with their skills as they're developing their skills.
Amazing. So Mary, how did you divide the workload? Because I'm so fascinated by the fact that you didn't really know each other before this huge undertaking, because I know what writing a book is like. It's such a commitment. So yes, I'm assuming that you spent like many hours like communicating back and forth, and it kind of could have been a disaster, couldn't it? Like if you didn't get on.
It could have, couldn't it? It was tremendously easy, I have to say, from the communication side of things, despite the fact that Jeanna was in Spain and I was in Scotland. So we just used online video calls, and we kind of got into a regular habit of a Monday morning thing.
Oh, nice.
And initially we had to write a proposal for the publishers. So we had kind of mapped out what we thought the different sections were. Some of them changed their names quite significantly, but that's fine. They were still sort of basically in the same sort of direction. It was interesting because initially there was a couple of sections that I thought, oh, I'll do that one because that one's really important to me. And then when I sat down to try and actually do it, I was completely stumped. But it was useful because then when I went back and said to Jeanna, I don't think I'm getting anywhere with this one, she had already written something on that sort of topic. So she was able to drag something out of her stash of written things and say, well, I can start on it. And how we did it was when we got to the bit which was about the garment repairs, there's some that within our sewing team, there's people who have different skills. So there's some things that when somebody comes in, for example, with a crotch repair, it would go, oh, go and see Mary, she does them all the time. So, darning's not really my thing particularly. So Jeanna took the darning ones. So some of it was quite, organic and straightforward about who was going to do which bit, and some of it was a bit of trial and error. But no, it was great. It was an enjoyable experience, which sounds as if it's maybe kind of unusual for book writing, but yeah.
So Jeanna, how did you decide like what you wanted to include? Because honestly, it's really clever, like the information that you've included and how you've conveyed it. Like I feel like you probably didn't I don't know, it's so comprehensive. I feel like you didn't leave any ideas at the table. Like I feel like you've just packed everything in that you could have.
Well, we definitely tried, and we wanted to, like, we really felt it was important to kind of give people like a solid background of like why they might mend, particularly because this is a book for people who maybe haven't done it before. So, it's not like you're already into mending and you kind of get why you like to do it. So we have a pretty solid section at the beginning about that. And of course, we wanted to like include all the reasons, that one might mend. And then we spent quite a lot of time also talking about kind of the problem solving and preparing to mend. We take people through garment identification, like the different parts of garments.
That is by the way, that is my absolute favourite bit. That is so clever because it's something that I've not seen in any other book, really. Like, unless you're a garment sewer or a designer or you work in retail, you don't necessarily know the anatomy of a garment, do you? And yet it's so crucial, really, to be able to follow along and make successful repairs, isn't it?
I think that's definitely one of the things that I've picked up when I'm teaching, mending skills to complete beginners is that, they'll come along and they'll say, I want to fix this bit here. And the only way that they can communicate with you is by, showing you it, because they've got no idea what things are called, from something as simple as a seam and a hem, no idea. So I was a bit concerned in case that bit was going to be a bit condescending. But if you liked it, that's lovely. It's lovely to be getting feedback about it, because so far, really, when we show people our copy, the first thing that they say is, "Oh, it looks lovely." So, but we haven't really had much in the way of feedback about content. So.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's coming. Yeah. I'm sure it's going. Yeah. I really loved that bit. And I really loved as well that you educated the reader as well about different fabric types as well. Mm-hmm. So that once again, because decreasingly there are textile courses at your school and things like that. And if they ever did cover those things, which I know that mine didn't, like they're getting less and less and less, aren't they? So people aren't understanding like what fabric is and how to work with it. So I thought that was really wonderful to see as well. I really thought that section was really important as well. So whose idea was it to come up with those bits?
I feel like that was something that I had been thinking about pre-book. And so my background, like former career before I moved to Spain, I was a speech language pathologist. So I have that career of really explicitly teaching people whatever it is that, that we're working on. So I kind of drew on that and like thinking backwards. So like if I'm teaching someone something, I really want to think about like, why do you need to know this? What is all the important information that you need to know that's going to make whatever you're learning like stick and be successful? And for me, when it comes to garment repair, and I've learned this through kind of trial and error on my own over many, many years, but it really helps to know that like putting a strong woven patch on your jeans is going to hold up better than a lace patch, for example, which might look really cool, but, and knowing why those things failed. So
yeah, or how like a woven patch on a knit garment might actually create more stresses and create more damage possibly.
Exactly. And we certainly talk about that a lot in how to triage your mend episode. So those are things that I had been like thinking about. And another thing that I was thinking about as we approach this book is that not everyone is a visual written language learner. So I wanted to present, and we wanted to present information in a way that people could then like go to all the resources that exist on YouTube, like give them the language for the damage, give them the language for the anatomy of their garment. So they don't just look at like how to fix my hoodie. And then it's like, is it the cuff? Is it the, what part of it? What part of the jeans? Because there are other resources out there. Not everyone is like their preferred learning style is written words. So we wanted to inform them and give them information so they can ask someone else, so they can turn to other resources and be educated in how they seek out more information. Awesome. Should they want to.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important. So it sounds like you've both really drawn on your previous careers and your experience of teaching people mending, like in person as well. Because I was wondering, Mary, like because you're both so experienced now in mending, if you would find it difficult to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's at the beginning of their mending. But it seems like you've had so much contact, and continue to have so much contact with people who are at that stage that it wasn't so much of a challenge for you to kind of think about what they need to know.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things, again, talking about previous careers, I used to be a pharmacist, and one of the things that I was involved in was writing hideous documents, which are called patient group directions, which are to enable, for example, nurses or other professionals to be able to safely prescribe and administer medicines. So you had to give, very, very clear directions about exactly, everything that needed to be involved, what they needed to have read, what they needed to know, questions they had to ask, the answers that they got, and, all of the, temperature or whatever that needed to be recorded. So very precise kind of documents with absolutely no room for people going wrong. So I think
that's pretty high stakes directions, isn't it, with that?
Yeah. So that was really helpful. And also, usually when I was doing that type of work, I was also doing it as part of a team. So I was used to, I'll write this bit and then I give it to you and you go through it and then you give it back to me and I go through it again. And, then we'll send it to a different type of healthcare professional. They'll go through it as well. So that type of approach to making sure that the directions were right, I think was helpful as well. So
absolutely.
But we both have that, kind of health sort of background. So I think it was actually helpful that was the case, and evidence-based, if it's worked once, it'll work again kind of thing. Follow the rules, you'll get there.
Well, it makes sense then to have a section about anatomy of garments then, if you're both from healthcare kind of backgrounds.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of then writing a section and then sending it over to the other person to sense check it and things like that? Is that how your workflow went?
Yeah, that's very much how we did it. That we would have a first stab at a thing and then, swap it over and then get the comments back, and, it went back and forward a few times. But one of the things that we did, that Jeanna hasn't alluded to yet, we had no idea about word count. So we basically just thought, right, we're just going to write it. We're going to put all the bits in that we think need to go in, and then we'll do the word count, because then we'll have put everything out into the world that we want to include. So we did that, and we had far too many words, far too many words. So that was
almost double our allotted word count.
So did they not give you a word count initially? They were just like,
they did, but we didn't pay any attention. We're amateurs. We've no idea what we're doing. So yeah, we didn't pay any attention. So,
and we had everything, like all of the different sections were in separate documents. So it wasn't like you could just we had, I don't know, 40 different documents or something. So it was a bit of an undertaking to actually tally up that word count. And, they're like, they gave us the page allotment and we're like, holy cow, how are we ever going to write enough to fill all this up? And then we're like, oh, but if we have this in there, we need to have this. Yeah. If we include this repair, we need to make sure we have this stitch. And now that we have this stitch, we've got to do that. So it
snowballed.
It got big. Yeah, it got real big.
So Jeanna, how did you get the word count down? Did you have to be really strict and cut sections, or just figure out ways to kind of reduce the steps for each explanation?
All of the above, really. We did end up cutting out several whole kind of techniques or skills. And basically when we cut big chunks, we kind of looked at right, this is a book for beginner sewists. Like, what are the most advanced things? And so those came out. And then there was just a lot of editing and rewording and refining and tightening up. And I think that ultimately, we ended up with a much better book because we did spend so much time in that second phase of editing and really kind of, refining and clarifying, what we wanted to say. And we did get some feedback from our editors that they usually prefer when people overwrite rather than underwrite. So you're not just trying to add some more to take up the
just
space. But
pad it up, yeah.
Yeah, but we had a lot of stuff to
Well, I hope you
decide
kept all that
to pull
extra
out.
stuff, because it sounds like you've got another
Oh,
book's
yes.
worth.
Oh yeah, yep, it's all still there.
So Mary, why did you choose "Stitch It, Don't Ditch It" as the title, or was that something that the publishers kind of dictated?
The publishers, I think, were keen on it. I think
Right.
they were. I think it's such a catchy title, and obviously,
And it links to the street stitching movement, doesn't
yes,
it? Because
yes, because that's what we have on our banners when we're out street stitching. You know, quite often when you're out street stitching and you'll be sewing away, and then you'll hear people passing by and they go, "Stitch it, don't ditch it," and you can hear them muttering it, and then people like it as a title. So yeah.
hopefully then when people see it in the shops, they're like, "Oh, I've heard that before." So Mary, what was your favourite section of the book? Either to write or having now seen it in the flesh.
I think my favourite section is the bit that Jeanna did with the algorithms of how to decide how to do your mend, because I think up until the point of getting it all down on paper, my approach had always just been very fluid, and I had actually sort of got myself convinced that it was experience that you needed in order to become a good mender. And that was why it was useful for people to come along to our sewing session and ask an experienced person, and the experienced person would point them in the right direction, and then they would just do it. So to find that there is a way that beginners can mend in the way that an experienced mender would by just following an algorithm was kind of like, yeah, this is for me. I'm very pleased about having that.
That's really powerful, isn't it?
That's great. Yes, it's really good, because it enables people. I suppose that's really what we were all about. Is we wanted to take people who couldn't do a thing, and by the end of it, they'll be able to do a thing. They'll understand why they're doing it that way, and they'll be able to make their own decisions in completely new situations. So they wouldn't be just limited by, oh, it's not in the book, so I can't do it. They'll be able to tackle anything.
Yeah, that is so powerful. That's fantastic. Jeanna, what about you? What was your favourite part of the book, either to write or having seen it now printed?
I also really love that plan your mend section that Mary's talking about. I think for me too, it was really satisfying to be able to kind of articulate that. Like, we, as experienced sewists, you have this implicit knowledge, right? You have this tacit knowledge that you've just gathered from so much experience, and you just sort of know how fabric works, and you know how stitches work, and you make these decisions just without even really thinking about it. And this, we've really figured out a way to kind of make that experiential knowledge explicit. And I know that still, even though you know the information, you still have to have the practice of lots and lots of motor experience with the needle and thread and sewing, but hopefully being able to kind of make that sort of experiential knowledge a little more clear for people from the beginning, that can save them some of the frustration of
yeah, absolutely.
just
And save them from
not working.
things not working out. Yeah, and then just kind of thinking, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll ditch it rather than stitch it.
Hey, please don't. Please keep trying.
No, it's brilliant. It's really clever.
Yeah. So my other favorite part, which I really, really enjoyed writing, was the reasons to mend section.
Right.
Because I think that hopefully that's comes across as kind of inspiring and empowering, but also just common sense, and very it just makes sense.
And fun,
this is why you should fix your clothes.
Fun.
And it's fun. It's fun.
So
and everybody's doing it.
So Jeanna, what is your primary reason for mending?
Oh, do I have to pick just one?
Top three.
Top three. Okay. I like having something to do with my hands. I feel like having something to do with my hands kind of helps me slow down my brain. It helps me relax. It helps me. I like to do something, and it's really nice to have a tangible thing that I have accomplished after spending some time with, something that could be sort of busy work or creative or whatever. I also really like mending because it allows me to be creative and make something without necessarily creating a new thing, introducing a new thing into the world that has to then be stored and maintained and used and blah, blah, blah. I've moved a lot in the last 5 years. So I'm really, really conscious of my physical footprint and the amount of things that I have. And I've sort of found that mending is kind of a nice way for me to still make things and sort of use my brain in a creative way, but without having to now have another thing that I have to manage.
Sure.
And then I mean, these are in no particular order. They're all equally important to me. But the other reason would be just the clothing footprint in the world, reducing my reliance on new materials and new garments. And then, of course, it goes along with that, the social justice piece and garment worker rights, being able to do a very small part and, in reducing the need for more clothes to be produced in the world. And hopefully, with this book, we can kind of help make that ripple go a little bit further beyond just us mending our own clothes. We can help get a few more people on board to help with that climate and social justice piece.
I'm sure you will. Mary, do you have any other reasons to add to those reasons that Jeanna's just shared with us?
I think the only other one that I would add is, because my reason for coming to the whole thing was climate. Absolutely, for the next generations, very much, with the focus on family and grandchildren and what the hell the world's going to be like by the time they grow up. But kind of linked to that is my other reason. A few Christmases ago, after my son had been saying, "Don't give me stuff for Christmas, don't give us stuff." And I was kind of like, what on earth can I give them? So at Christmas, I had sewed a little bag, drawstring bag, and put a label on it that said, "This is your mending for the whole family for a year. If you need anything mended, put it in this bag and give me it back. You're not asking me to do anything. You're redeeming your Christmas present."
Oh,
so that has worked remarkably well. And my son is very much into the, less is more way of living. So he gives me some really challenging mends, which is fantastic because as Jeanna had said, I find it a very creative process and, figuring out how I'm going to do it and kind of being able to, I suppose it's an expression of love, isn't it? In terms of if you're able to repair some clothes and little granddaughter who comes along and she's got a nice little dress on with a mark on it and you say, "Oh, what is that mark, Saoirse?" "Nail polish, Grandma." And you're kind of like, okay, I can turn that into a daisy, so now anytime there's anything that needs a repair, they are we'll take it to Grandma. So yeah, so that's good.
That is a fun challenge because what's in the bag?
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoy that as well.
Oh, amazing. And I love that you are also modelling to your grandchildren that mending is possible.
Yes, and was actually in her class recently. The school had asked me to go along and do a bit of mending with the primary ones. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, lovely. Mm-hmm. So, Jeanna, are there any mending books that have played an important role in developing your mending skills? Things you've just put a new one out there.
No, I was thinking about this and I honestly, most of my mending skills have come from, I've had the great good fortune of coming from a family who everyone sewed and everyone fixed things. And so most of my skills actually were passed down from me from my family members. So I've definitely appreciated lots of mending books and I always try to pick them up when I can. But most of my actual knowledge has come from my family.
That's so fortunate because there's quite a generational gap often nowadays, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is, kind of another good reason to mend and to, be aware of this is that knowledge transfer to that generational skill knowledge, kind of passing that along. It's been not a heavy, even though everything else in my life is very book heavy. Mending is one of those things that really hasn't been.
Interesting. Mary, did you turn to books at all along your mending journey?
That's such an interesting question, Zoe. I'm like Jeanna, have just picked it up over the years. My grandma was, a keen sewer, so I learned a certain amount from her. But I think most of my mending skills have been, trial and error and experience over the years. But I don't think I have ever looked at a mending book. But one of the resources that has been extremely valuable to me has been the website repairwhatyouwear.com.
Right.
That Ros Stud and Ellie have put together up in Aberdeen, so they're not too far away from me here. But one of the resources that she has on there and on her YouTube channel is a video which is for people who can mend, but to teach them how to pass on basic garment repair skills. So we have, in some regards, followed the same sort of structure that she uses in her teaching process, and have been very grateful to the support that she has given us to take this forward. But every single mending session that I go to, I always refer people to the Repair What You Wear website, because there are videos starting from the very beginning of how to thread a needle and secure your thread, and then basic core skills. And that's the same system that we've kind of looked at in our book. Because, as Jeanna had said earlier on, people who might be, a learner from a book is fine, but it's really useful to be able to stop and start a video as well. And,
Absolutely.
and kind of cement the learning.
Yeah, because that is a method that people are quite comfortable these days with using, isn't it, for picking up skills? I know I've got my most 2 watched videos on YouTube are the thumb cast on method for knitting and how to stretch a pizza base.
And interestingly, when I went to the Repair What You Wear website and I thought, how to thread a needle, I don't need to watch that one because I know how to thread a needle. And then I thought, no, I need to watch it because I'm telling people to go there and look at it. So I need to have watched it myself and learned the easy way to thread a needle, which I didn't know before.
Oh, so go on, tell us, share.
Well, it's in the book.
Oh, okay. Sorry, everyone. Yeah. Oh, go on, give us one. Give us one little hint.
Yeah, it's basically just, instead of trying to put the thread through the needle, you hold the thread so that you can only just see it between your finger and thumb. And then you put the needle down onto the thread, and then you unsqueeze your fingers and the thread just goes through the eye of the needle. It's so much easier.
Wow. Everyone's like rushing to their needle and thread. I need to try that.
Yeah, or rushing to the Repair What You Wear website to check out the video and see how it's done.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So it sounds like it's very early days. You haven't had an awful lot of feedback yet from your book. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
I was just going to say that everybody who picks it up, they kind of go, oh, isn't it lovely? Oh, I love the illustrations. And certainly that has been very nice to hear. And thanks to Susie London and Lena Yokoyama.
Amazing. The design is beautiful. It is a really beautiful design book. Yeah.
But it was an interesting process for us as well, because, the whole thing about having to give them reference images, which they then turned into a drawing that people could understand. It was a really interesting process.
Yeah. So Jeanna, how did you brief the illustrators?
Yeah, so our book is fully illustrated. There's no photographs in it. And, not only were we completely new to writing a book, but we were also completely new to thinking about how you would portray these skills that we know how to do really well. But how would you translate that to an illustrator who is going to draw that? So we spent a lot of time taking pictures of men's that we were doing. I spent a lot of time Googling and finding YouTube videos and taking screenshots of a little clip that portrayed the right step from the right angle. And then of course there was a lot of okay, here's the picture, but we want it to look like this. We also really made an effort in our book to have examples of both left-handed and right-handed sewists.
Nice.
So that was another thing. So it was, how would this, if a left-handed person was sewing this, what would that look like? Mirroring images and, explaining that. and Susie London, who did all the technical illustrations. She was amazing. She has lots of experience with technical sewing illustration. Hand sewing was new to her, but she was phenomenal to work with and so patient with us as we feel like actually on second or third or fifth look, like we realized that we messed this up, and can you please make this tweak that like we didn't catch earlier? But she was amazing. And then Lena did all of the abstract illustrations, and she has a really unique collage style art that she combines with some hand drawings. So that's the main feedback that we've gotten so far, is people really, as they flip through it, they're like, oh my gosh, the colors and the designs and so yeah. Good shout out to our illustrator team. They were amazing.
Oh, amazing. An awesome team. So Mary, where can people find you and where can they pre-order your book?
They can find me on Instagram either as Edinburgh Street Stitchers or MVM13. I'm also on Facebook as MV Morton. And there's also Edinburgh Street Stitchers are also on Facebook now, because people have been telling me, oh, we don't use Instagram, blah, blah.
And so when is your book out and where can people pre-order it?
It's out on the 31st of July, and you can pre-order it through a link that we can give you to stick in the show notes. Yeah, and it's also available through local bookshops, if you would rather support your local bookshop.
Absolutely. Jeanna, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram at The People's Mending. That's the most reliable place to find me. And I also do a bit of writing about, kind of inconsistent writing about mending and related things on Substack, also at The People's Mending. And that's all linked in my Instagram profile. And yeah, like Mary said, in terms of finding the book, you can walk into your local bookseller and ask them to order it, and they will be able to find it for you. It's also just anywhere that you would buy books.
Right.
And like
is it going to be available internationally?
Yes. So it's released in the UK on the 31st of July. It's released in the US on the 5th of August. I think Canada is the 5th of August as well, or right in that first week of August. Yeah. And then in Australia, it's available the 29th of July.
Did you ever think that you would say, you can get it anywhere books are sold?
Not in 1 million years. This was not something that I ever imagined would be possible. So,
oh, I'm so happy for you both. I'm really, really happy. And it is an amazing book.
And there's also an e-version available as well.
Awesome. I'll put links to literally everything that you just mentioned in the show notes, so people don't have to be like trying to pull over their car and scribble things down.
Perfect. Yes.
Brilliant.
It'll all be linked there. And I will also say, ask your public libraries if you want them to carry a copy of it as well, because it's something that can be in public libraries in both paper and ebook format. So
okay, I'm going to ask Brighton and Hove libraries to make sure that happens.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful to speak to you. Thank you.
It's been wonderful, Zoe. Thank you for the opportunity and the time today.
Thank you for all your hard work behind the scenes.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and are left feeling inspired. For more info about the podcast, including show notes for this and every episode, head to checkyourthread.com. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, questions or ideas for future episodes, please get in touch by emailing zoe@checkyourthread.com or find me on Instagram @checkyourthread. Massive thanks to Patrick Potter for production support, to Sylvia Seller for the awesome logo design, and to Simon at Palm Skin Productions for the music. This ad-free podcast would not be possible without listener support, so if you feel you are able, please consider signing up to the Check Your Thread Patreon. For the equivalent of buying me a coffee each month, you'll be making it possible to continue producing regular episodes. Links can be found in the show notes and on the website checkyourthread.com. I hope you'll listen again next week. Until then, take care. Bye!